The defensive tackle play from the Dallas Cowboys in 2025 has been less than ideal. With veterans Osa Odigizua and Kenny Clark really struggling the last few weeks, the Cowboys have tried mixing up snaps from Motzie Smith, Jay Toya, and Solomon Thomas to look for a jolt in production. With little success, the Cowboys may turn to an off-season hero in Perrion Winfrey, who the Dallas Cowboys designated to return off of IR. Winfrey, 25, has yet to play this season for the Cowboys due to a back injury he suffered leading up to the Cowboys' Week 1 game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Winfrey was placed on IR before Week 1 and has been flying under the radar since. With struggles all over the defense for the Cowboys, Winfrey could be viewed as one of the reinforcements coming back in the next few weeks for a struggling defensive tackle room in the Matt Eberflus defense. Winfrey flashed all offseason in preseason and training camp action and should provide quality depth along the interior when he works back into shape, something the Cowboys have lacked through 8 weeks. The Dallas Cowboys have been relatively quiet on the trade market after sending defensive cornerstone Micah Parsons to Green Bay ahead of the regular season. Since that happened, unsurprisingly, their defense has been criticized often, with their pass rush in particular lacking. Through 8 games, the Cowboys have managed 15 sacks, which is why some analysts believe Dallas could still add another edge before the trade deadline hits on November 4th. CBS Sports' Garrett Podale had an interesting name as a possibility for Dallas: Nick Herbig of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers edge rusher Nick Herbig has a 94.0 defensive grade from PFF since Week 4, the best in the NFL, via Fansided's Marcus Mosher, Podale wrote, adding, "However, he appears to be on the outs with the Steelers' coaching staff. Herbig's 52 defensive snaps across the last 2 weeks are 14th among his Pittsburgh teammates. Incredibly odd considering he leads the Steelers in sacks with 4.5 this season, half a sack more than TJ Watt's 4.0. He is set to enter the final year of his rookie deal in 2026, but it could be worth the Cowboys picking up the phone to see what his price may be." A closer look at Herbig's game. The 6'2", 240-pound Steelers linebacker was a 4th-round pick in 2023, number 132 overall, after starring at Wisconsin, and he has shown steady growth since entering the league. Across his 3 seasons, Herbig has been the 3rd edge behind superstar TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. Despite playing limited snaps, he has managed to become quite the disruptor. Through 6 games in 2025, he has 13 career sacks, 8 forced fumbles, 1 interception, and 65 total tackles, matching or topping what many rotational rushers do in double the playing time. In 2024, he finished with 5.5 sacks and 4 passes defensed, then opened 2025 with 4.5 more sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception as his role grew on passing downs. Even as a rookie in 2023, Herbig was one of the league's most efficient pressure creators on a per-snap basis, a trend that carried into 2024 and 2025. His hot start this season, he had 20 pressures in his first 4 games, should absolutely intrigue Dallas. Why the Dallas Cowboys should try to trade for Steelers edge Nick Herbig. Herbig would be a great piece for defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, whose defense emphasizes takeaways and sound tackling. Herbig's knack for strip and hustle sacks would make him both a nice fit and an exciting addition. The cost should also interest Dallas. Herbig is still on his rookie deal, which matters a great deal for a Cowboys roster currently juggling extensions elsewhere. Also, Pittsburgh has Watt and Highsmith entrenched, making Herbig, we won't say expendable, but certainly worth checking in on if you're Jerry Jones. If he maintains anything close to his 2025 start, he'd be an immediate upgrade for a Cowboys defense that hasn't played well or consistent all year. He's still only 23, which is another thing to love if you're Dallas. That could make his price tag a bit higher, but considering his current usage in Pittsburgh, Herbig is definitely a player the Cowboys should be monitoring. Things are not going well for the Dallas Cowboys. After 8 games, the team has only 3 wins. Their chances of making the playoffs grow slimmer with each week. Besides their inability to win back-to-back games, they have multiple things working against them. For starters, 13 of the 16 NFC teams, 81%, also have at least 3 wins, so it's a packed house when it comes to teams vying for a playoff spot. Second, The Cowboys have a brutal stretch of games in late November/early December when they'll square off against tough opponents. Week 12, November 23rd, Eagles, 6-2. Week 13, November 27th, Chiefs, 5-3. Week 14, December 4th, Lions, 5-2. Week 16, December 21st, Chargers, 5-2. Making matters even more difficult is that all of those teams have good offenses that should have a field day against this Cowboys defense. It's not hard to see that a losing season could be on the horizon for this team, and that any shot at a real playoff run is slipping away. Last week, the sentiment was slightly different, with some fans holding on to a glimmer of hope. There were many discussions about making a big trade to acquire a difference-making defensive player who might be able to help save the season. For many fans, the win-now plan would have looked something like this. It's becoming clearer that there is no great savior out there. The defense's problems won't be remedied by one player, and the best thing for them to do is to save that draft capital and look for their solutions next year. Plus, in a week, we learned that the Raiders have no desire to trade Max Crosby. We also watched the defense get torched by the Broncos' offense. Even the great offense we've seen all year sputtered, where they quickly found themselves in a hole they could never get out of. Things couldn't have gone much worse. So, obviously, they need a new plan. This plan should be centered around fixing the defense and maximizing the window where they have good quarterback play. This is tricky because it requires both patience and a willingness to be assertive. But there's a path where they can make great strides in accomplishing such, and it could go a little something like this. Yes, this was also part of the win-now plan, but there really shouldn't be any scenario where he is not a part of their future. They used a third-round pick to get him, and he's been nothing short of fantastic since stepping on the field. The alternative is to use draft capital for one of the top collegiate receivers, but that's a risky thing to do for two reasons. A, you never know what you're going to get, and B, they need those premium draft resources for defense. Take the sure thing that is Pickens. He possesses a skill set that is not readily found, and when you have something great, it's okay to shell out the funds to keep it. Attack defense in the draft. This is expected. We all know this is where they need the most help, and several areas need addressing. Plus, the offense is stacked with talent that there are no pressing areas. The offensive line is set with 4 of its 5 starters, all young players who have been selected in recent drafts. This allows the team to focus most of its attention on defense. It's also worth mentioning that the team does have a lot of young defensive players who are still finding their place on the team. This list includes DeMarvion Overshown, Donovan Ezerwaku, Siobhan Revel Jr., Marshawn Kneeland, Maris Lafau, Shamar James. Some of these guys are going to work out, some won't. After the conclusion of the season, they'll have a stronger idea of which players offer promise and which areas need a major upgrade. If the Cowboys can find a way to add a few key pieces to this young group, the defense stands a good chance of being much improved in future seasons. ESPN NFL insider Dan Graziano has sparked discussion across the league by floating potential trade scenarios involving Cleveland Browns star Myles Garrett and 2 prominent NFC contenders, the Dallas Cowboys and Los Angeles Rams. Following a 5-sack performance in a 32-13 loss to the New England Patriots, Garrett looked visibly frustrated, fueling speculation about whether the perennial All-Pro could again push for a trade. While Garrett signed a 4-year, $160 million extension earlier this year, Graziano suggested that the contract structure might not make a deal impossible. According to Graziano, a trade this season would cost the Browns roughly $41 million in dead money in 2026. Though that figure appears daunting, he noted that several teams have recently taken on even larger cap hits and remained competitive, including Denver with Russell Wilson and Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. Graziano added that Cleveland could consider moving Garrett if a team were willing to offer multiple first-round picks. What would a hypothetical Myles Garrett trade look like? Graziano imagined hypothetical trade offers from the Cowboys and Rams, both of whom possess the draft capital to make a serious bid. Dallas, in particular, could offer 2 first-round picks in 2026, a move that might reshape both franchises. Such a return would give Cleveland significant flexibility in a future draft while providing the Cowboys a dominant pass rusher to replace the production lost after Micah Parsons' departure. Garrett, who leads the NFL with 10 sacks and 15 tackles for loss through 8 games, remains one of the league's most impactful defenders. Yet Cleveland's 2-6 record and ongoing struggles have reignited conversations about the team's long-term direction. While ESPN's Adam Schefter has reported that there is no chance Garrett is traded before the November 4th deadline, Graziano's analysis highlights how the financial and strategic landscape could make such a blockbuster conceivable. For teams like Dallas and Los Angeles, both seeking defensive playmakers to elevate playoff hopes, the idea of calling Cleveland about Garrett might be too tempting to ignore.